They'd made their public case about it and they'd had whole books released slandering him, but you weren't allowed to defend him publicly after the trial started. A little mea culpa from some people in Australia would be nice. You know, just a little, 7-zip in the High Court.
Before we get to our clip, do us a favor and click subscribe and that bell button below. 2/3 of people who watch us regularly aren't yet subscribed, and it really supports the channel when you do subscribe. It's free, costs nothing, and I really appreciate it. I'm reading Cardinal Pell's prison diaries right now. It's awesome how much he talks about footy.
He was a Richmond VFL.
I believe that's right.
He was a ruckman. He was a big guy.
I think that's right.
We've got to talk about the way in which he's regarded in this country is so, I'm going to move that down. It's so different to how in Australia, like despite being exonerated by the full
judges.
High Court.
Yeah.
And so transparently being stitched up.
Totally.
The conventional polite opinion remains that he was a sexual monster who happened to get off on a technicality. Everywhere else in the world, people who aren't even that into, people who don't love the church go,
yeah, that's obviously
this
not true.
Seems like a terrible, unjust thing to have happened to somebody. But they're so emotionally invested in destroying him in Australia.
Could you sum up what happened for folks who don't yet know what we're talking about?
He was...
we don't have to go into the details of what he was accused of.
I mean, he was a bishop for a long time. He
he was conservative.
Very conservative. He was hated and he was the public face of conservatism.
Yep.
It was always him being brought out to make the point in the media. And people wanted him destroyed. And to some extent they got him. They certainly got his reputation in Australia. But then he was... the charge brought against him was insane. There's a great Julia Yost article that was released in Australia the day before the trial started. I think it was the day before the trial started, because after the trial started, you were illegal to make any commentary about it. You just had to sit back and, they'd made their public case about it and they'd had whole books released slandering him, but you weren't allowed to defend him publicly after the trial started. And Julia Yost has this incredible article breaking down all of the allegations and going, none of this is possible unless this man, as well as being a paedophile, is a magician. Does he have the skill of an acrobat to have done this in a public pool?
Yeah.
It's but the willingness to believe it and try and bring him down was astronomical. Yeah, to this day. I remember going to the ABC when that was on, and people are going, how dare anyone defend a convicted pedophile? And then when he was no longer a convicted pedophile and totally exonerated, no one comes out and goes, sorry about that, everybody. I had a little too much faith in the Victorian High Court. Should have waited for the proper federal thing to get underway.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have your reputation ruined in that way, because you know that even your closest friends at some point are like, well, anyone.
I went to a monastery and people wouldn't defend him.
Yeah.
Because also people in the left, in the liberal soft wing of the church also had a lot of axes to grind.
I hope he'll be a saint. I pray I ask for his intercession regularly.
It's good.
I got to go and pray by his tomb when I was in Sydney, and I felt his paternal affection, I have to say.
Man, I don't think they've started tearing down statues and plaques and things yet, but they will.
Let them.
A little mea culpa from some people in Australia would be nice. Just a little, 7-zip in the High Court. There is a very high chance that an innocent man is currently in prison. Can we just acknowledge that it happened? But there's never any, the COVID vaccine won't say whether or not it's